Welcome to the Simply Real Life podcast. I'm Sarah, the founder of Simply Real Health, here to help you simplify, amplify, and elevate your life. This show is for those of you who want the real talk on how to live a more intuitive and intentional life, a life that's healthy from the inside out, and one that feels more effortless, aligned, simple, and more alive. We cover it all, from health, wellness, mindset, motherhood, daily habits and rituals, to business and relationships, creativity and growth, and tiny tricks to feeling your best, and the energetics behind it all filled with personal stories, unfiltered conversations, and of course, answering all of your burning questions, all in the way of simplicity and keeping it real, so that you can create your own version of your healthiest life. Let's do it. Hi guys, welcome back to the show this week. Okay, we have a really good question that came in today, and it's actually a question that comes in a lot. Really, no matter if I'm in a stage or season of having a baby or if my kids are out of that phase, this question tends to pop up a lot. And it's all around the topic of nursing, feeding, and specifically weaning. How do you go from once you've finally figured it out and things are in a good groove or easy, whether nursing or you are doing formula, it's then time to change or make a shift. And I just want to say as a caveat, before I even get into answering the details of this question, that it is so important, I think, with anything that comes to parenting or motherhood, when it comes to feeding your child or the ways that you're taking care of them or their schedules or like anything that has to do with their daily life, that it's so important to listen to your own intuition. Truly taking a pause from all of the noise, from all of the different opinions, even mine. Like listening to this episode, it's not that this is what you should do. This is just a way and an option. I'm going to explain how I even got there. My answer to this question is a deep trust in my own intuition and listening to my baby, what's going on there, what's going on in our lifestyle, how you come to the decision of when it feels like a time to make that transition or not. And there's no right answer here. So I just want to say that first of all, because that's really what motherhood is about, honestly. It's just being able to trust that intuition more than other people's opinions or the way that other people do things. It really just has to be something that works for you, that feels good for you, and that makes sense to you. Like that's how we make all decisions when it comes down to it about our own bodies, but also for our children. So the question, can you talk a little bit more about how you went through the process of weaning? And then also her second part of the question is, what do you transition to? What type of milk do you transition to when you're done nursing and your baby's eating a little bit more food, or you're done with the formula and you're ready to transition to the next substance for them? So I will definitely answer that question. First, when it comes to weaning, there really is no like right time or proper time. It's really what feels good to you. I know so many women who continue to nurse and want to nurse that really works for them and it works for their baby. And I think a lot of this has to do with your own schedule, your own lifestyle, trips that you have coming up, how you're feeling. I think there's a definite bond when it comes to nursing, and it's so sweet, especially as it gets towards that year mark. Things do really start to feel so much easier. And you're in such a good groove that it can feel hard to know when to stop. So I would say keep asking yourself, honest questions like, how would it feel if I did stop and had a little bit more autonomy, more of my time back? I don't need to schedule around it. I'll be able to do more things, go out on date nights, go out on girls' nights, not have everything revolved around feeding my baby. And for other women, that doesn't matter. It's like, that's not a big factor. It's not a big thing. And it feels great for both of you, then great. Like keep going. I think nutritionally speaking, as long as you can go is great. There's usually a happy medium for me that's always been around 14, 15, 16 months-ish is like how long I have gone with my other two babies. And that's kind of my plan this time. Again, depending when they're born, sometimes you get into the conversation of you're about to wean or you're wanting to reduce and like stop nursing. And then it's right into cold season. So November, December, January, February. And like, I can see a really good argument for wanting to keep going. Maybe it's just 1 feed a day or 2 feeds a day, just so that they are continuing to get those antibodies for immune support. Again, if that feels good to you. If not, it's a really helpful thing, I think. And just learning this from 3 kids, before you actually do want to wean, I think the best way to do it for your body and for them is to go as slow as possible. And oftentimes we don't think about weaning until we're kind of ready to do it. You know what I mean? I don't think I realized that with my first. It actually does take a couple of months for that transition to start. And that is so much more gentle on your own hormones too, to have a gentle titrate down versus a 1-day stop. I think that it is something just to be aware of, like if you have a goal in mind, I want to make it to a year, I want to make it to 14 months or 16 months, or maybe it's 18 months, maybe it's 2 years old for you, like whatever feels good to you, great. But knowing around that time that it will take a couple months, ideally, if you're going to do it slow and gently, to plan for that, try to factor that part in, whether that's whatever age they are when you decide to take this on. They will be definitely eating real food at least twice a day, and then moving towards eating 3 meals a day, so that the pressure is not really on you for milk or formula. They're getting most of their nutrients mostly from food instead of just milk. So that's kind of how you would know that it is around time, or that they are really ready to do that or have taken less milk feeds. And then obviously different babies, some are a little bit lower on the growth side of things, and you're wanting to keep as many calories in their body as possible. And some babies are totally fine. So obviously probably talking to their pediatrician too, figuring out where they stand from that point of view as well. But when it comes time to start weaning or titrating down, my best advice would be that you take out the feeds first that are at the middle of the day. Like right now, Rosie's almost to that year mark, and I'm feeding like 4 times a day, morning and night for sure. And then I have 2 feeds, mid-morning and then mid-afternoon. And so those are the times a day where my milk supply is naturally lowest. It's always going to be highest in the morning. But the morning routine and the night routine are generally the ones that you want to work around. And those typically stay around longer than the middle of the day ones. So if you're wanting to start reducing the amount of times, would be to take out a feed at the middle of the day. They're probably eating a lunch or they're having a dinner. And so they are getting a lot of nutrients and food in that time frame. And it's up to you, the pace. So maybe you drop it and you do that for at least 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. And then you would take that second middle of the day feed, and then you would do that for another 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and your body will start to adjust. And you want to do this slow, both for your benefit and for the babies. You're into the territory of having morning and night feeds. And some people like to drop all the way and just go to one. Maybe they just stick with the morning because supply is the highest in the morning. I have a lot of friends that will do morning and night, or maybe just nighttime because that's kind of their bonding time and the nighttime ritual. I would say at this point, it's really helpful to be getting your babies into a routine that is not connected to you feeding them to sleep. It can be really helpful to start introducing a little bit more of a bedtime routine that's not specifically around milk. So doing a routine, whether it's a bath or you're reading a book or you're singing a song or you're just rocking them, that there is some part of the routine that's not only around milk, can be very helpful as you start to transition. So that way there's not just one day where you're just doing nothing and putting them down, but you've built in other routines around it. So again, you're getting down to morning and night, and then eventually you pick one that you want to drop first, or maybe your body picks it for you, that your supply is lessening and lessening. Again, the less they feed, the less milk your body is producing naturally. And I have friends, and I think even for myself, I've gone months at a time of just a morning and night feed, or months of just a morning feed then. It can be a very slow process. That's always how I prefer it to. I think emotionally, you've put in hundreds of hours into this, and it can be this really big transition and change. And so just being so gentle with yourself, taking it as slow as you want, I think could be the most helpful thing. There is also an argument that then having a reason to stop fully, because once you get into that routine of maybe just morning and night, or maybe just morning or night, that there can be a point where you're just you could do that for the foreseeable future. Whereas if sometimes you have, let's say, a trip, or you're going away just as a couple, or some sort of reason, and then a date on the calendar that you were kind of working backwards from, that can also be very helpful and motivating to actually stop. Because at least for me, I know it's hard to actually stop. That means you have to process mentally and emotionally what's going on, and that transition of your baby not being a baby that needs you or needs milk from you as much. And it's a really big thing if you're like me and feel more emotionally attached, because for my story, it takes my body so much time and energy and being consistent and eating way more. Nursing really is a huge job, particularly for my body to do. And feeling like I get to the place where it feels easy always feels like such an accomplishment that I don't necessarily want to stop. But there are so many benefits, I think, also to stopping that you don't quite realize until you do. And then you're like, oh, now I can actually sink back into my own body. Like my body is mine again. I can go out. I can travel. I do have a little bit more freedom. Like I can say yes to things more. My body is not needing to eat for two people anymore. I can just be on my own and really listen to my own hunger and my own rhythms. It's like that reintegration process back to ourselves. And to me, that always starts to happen in the 16 to 18 month time, or 18 to 2 years. There's so much that you're outpouring and giving that it's this really interesting shift, I think, that starts to happen. And it's like spiritual. And so that's why I like to go slow, and then also have a reason or something I'm looking forward to help make sure that I will actually cut it off, at some point. So then what do you replace it with? This question I get all the time. Here's what I do. I don't replace it with anything. I replace it with water, because my kids are eating real food. And I think that that's the part of quote unquote normal culture. It's like, of course, we'll just replace it with cow's milk. And granted, there are specific reasons. Maybe your baby is needing more nutrients and calories. Maybe they're a little bit behind on their growth curves or whatever it may be. Great. For my babies, they are eating great and a wide variety of real foods, and they're getting lots of nutrients in, and they're happy, and they're loving it. And to me, I don't want to start them drinking cow's milk if they don't need to be. There's a lot of different schools of thought. If I feel like I needed a replacement for whatever reason, I would go to the farmer's market and I would get raw whole milk. Raw milk is what comes from the mom's body, from our bodies. There's very good digestive enzymes and probiotics to help break down the lactose in the milk. That's why oftentimes breast milk is never a problem. It's only a health food and a benefit to babies because it has all of those live enzymes and bacteria in it. Same thing for cow's milk. If you're going to do cow's milk, that's personally what I would do. Again, I'm not a doctor. Do not take this recommendation just because I do it, or that's what I would do if I was choosing milk. But it's a great thing to research and to look into for yourself. That would be the most real whole food form of milk that you could possibly do. If you don't have access to that and you feel like your baby so far has done okay with cow's milk products like cheese and butter, they could do great with Parmesan cheese and cheddar cheese, but not goat cheese. Or they do great with sheep's milk cheese like a feta, and goat cheese, but not cow's milk. So there's so many different factors, but I would never just blindly give my kids milk just because, one, it's not needed. Like if they're eating real whole foods, they're getting plenty of calcium. There's actually way more calcium in dark leafy greens. So broccoli is a much better way to get calcium. It's much more absorbable in your body than milk for many reasons, usually being funded by the dairy industry. We get this message, drink milk, it's good for your bones, we need calcium, babies need to be drinking milk, toddlers need to be drinking milk. It's a very outdated marketing message. So that being said, what they drink is water. And we put water in the sippy cup and water if they're thirsty. When I'm done with nursing, we don't replace it with a different milk at all. So that again means that your routine is maybe not feeding to sleep, if that's the mechanism. And that's also just a helpful thing for them to know as they get into toddlerhood and as they grow older, that they don't need to rely on being fed something to go to sleep. So making a different connection in their brain that it's time for sleep. I mean, there are people that I think like the routine of it, or maybe needing to continue on with some source of milk, or they're doing formula. For me, I wouldn't go the route of the nut milks or coconut milk. I mean, there's just so many additives in it. It gets expensive over time to be buying that milk just for your child to drink, when the reality is helping them learn to chew food and eat real food. This is the window to do it. Like when they are younger than 18 months, their taste buds are open to so many things. And if you dominate those taste buds with vegetables, with things that are savory foods like meat and poultry and eggs, and things that are so nutrient dense and helpful for their brain and their growth development and helpful for their jaws to develop chewing. I think that like milk takes a secondary role once they are able to eat real food. So that is just my opinion. That's what I do. I don't feed my kids milk. We just have them drink water. To me, it's simpler. It's easier. It really goes back again, like to my own intuition. I'm like, I don't drink glasses of milk. I don't believe that my kids need to do that either. And there's so many other ways to get them really good nutrients because we are a family that values real whole food. They're eating all the things that we are, drinking water as we are, and keeping it really simple, like not overcomplicating things at all. So I hope that helps. Again, there's no right way, right time, right thing to do. I think you really have to think about your child, what feels good, thinking about your routines, thinking about your own schedule. Like it's just a blend of so many different factors of picking and deciding when it works for you. But my best piece of advice is really working backwards at least a couple of months ahead of time from when you do want to start weaning or be done feeding, and then listening to your body along the way. And there's going to be a huge hormonal shift if you are nursing and breastfeeding for you. So just also being prepared with that, of still deeply nourishing and feeding yourself with really good quality food, taking care of yourself, moving your body, getting fresh air, knowing that your hormones are going to have a period where they maybe dip or feel like they're resettling. And just being prepared for that and taking care of yourself deeply in that time so that you can come out of this phase of depletion, which is really what pregnancy and breastfeeding is depletion on a lot of different levels, and moving into a phase of it's all about replenishment now and re-nourishment and like getting back into your own body, not just being a feeding source for somebody else. I think it's a very magical container of time, and also a time that we do have to be intentional about. There's a lot happening, and I think to do so in a way that feels good and helps keep you steady and keeps your hormones from taking those crazy low dips. I've never had a crazy low from feeding. I think because I do it this way, where it's just a little bit more slow, a little bit more gentle, like knowing that even mentally and emotionally, this is a big thing. So just go slow, take care of myself, really feeding myself in other ways, and getting ready for this next phase. Like transitions are always a little tricky for our bodies and our energy and our minds. And if you know that going into it, it's so much easier, I think, to give yourself the grace and time and space that you need to make that transition and feel good while you're in it, and then feel good after. So if you have any questions about this, I am happy to answer or clarify anything. Just come find me on Instagram at Simply Real Health, and happy to chat about it more. I hope that you have a great week of you ahead. Knowing that you're listening and thinking about this and wanting to do this intentionally is just such a beautiful thing. And you are a great mom. Okay. I love you guys. We'll see you soon.
If you enjoyed this episode and want more like it, make sure you're subscribed to the Simply Real Life podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, and maybe share it with a friend or two. That would mean the world.